Thank you for Hi. Thank you for joining us. Um, my name is Alexander Patlov. Let's begin. Uh, Today we are talking about web development in the age of AI. Let me introduce myself. I'm Alexander Patlov. I'm the head of content at Hyperskill, and also I lead bootcamps on Hyperskill. It's a learning platforms. We are researching and focusing on how to teach modern software developers, how to equip them up-to-date skills. Also, I'm a web developer, so I write application using Node.js and Python on backend and React, Vue.js on frontend. And personally, I feel how AI transforms my way of building apps and daily routine. So this theme is touching me, and I would like to share some thoughts on it today. So what we are going to talk about, we'll start with current state of web development and what AI brings here. So after that, we are talking how AI is transforming the way we build for web, some practices, routines, and all this stuff. Talking about the role of the web developer in modern business and modern society, I don't know. And in the end, I will make some recommendation, my thoughts about key tools and practices to explore and to dive on it. And there is a space for your questions, surely. So let's start. What is the current area of web development? It's a schema on the slide. So we are still building client-server apps, and now it doesn't change. So if you're not familiar with those terms, I will explain it easily. So imagine a simple form in your browser where you've got to input some data, for example, a payment form where you fill your card number. So it's a front-end side. So when you press a button to proceed some actions, it will send a request to a backend part, and all those transactions will be performed on the backend side, and the backend side will return the result. Is it succeed or it's unsucceed on the front end? So everything is easy. We are building much more complex apps now, but the thing is, it doesn't change. So client and some backend interacts via different protocols. We are mostly using HTTP or HTTPS, or we can use some WebSockets to keep our connection between client and server, or maybe we can use some streaming protocols like video streaming, which we are using right now. But the thing is that we are still building a client and a server-based application. Also, backend usually refers to some database which stores our data. So nothing new here. All right, but in fact, it's quite more complex. So the complexity of modern apps is really crazy. So when you are building modern client-server apps, you are thinking about so many things. You are thinking how to divide your architecture. Will you use monolith architecture or microservices? Will you make a layer before your front-end part as backend for front-end to normalize and optimize your data? Also, LLM world makes changes, so you've got to think about some LLM-driven solutions like using vector storage to store data in some uncommon way to make it work with LLMs. Also, we've got requirements of our delivery of our code. And on front end, there is always a fight between different frameworks which you've got to choose all the time from. And to be honest, we are living in a kind of dependency hell in our front end for a long time, and we can manage different parts of code in our infrastructures that we need to manage, and it's could be really hard. So the thing is that complexity is always keeps growing, and it keeps growing during the life cycle of our apps. And the modern web developer should think about it all to make high quality products. And it's quite difficult. So, and if we zoom out a little bit more, we see the product requirements. So, and a modern web developer not only thinking about technical complexity, but it should interact with a business somehow. So we got the product requirements and experiments, and modern web developers needs to build some interaction protocols between business and technical systems. So usually it's just social communication protocols, but it's still a protocol. So the modern web builders, web developers are not people who is writing code, and it's not a new thing. So it's lasts quite a lot, quite long. We've been living it since the moment it started. The complexity has started growing so fast. There is a common approach how to deal with complexity. It's to divide this complexity and give different people different roles. So we've got tech leads who deal with product requirements, backend developers who is creating backend, front-end developers who is creating backend, UI developers who craft buttons, interface, so all UI elements for us, and sometimes we need extra mobile developers to bring a new client to our stack and all this stuff. So we divide the scope of responsibility. And this is really a common way for business to deal with the complexity we've got. Also, people in all of this role are essentially crafting their individual work to achieve the overall effect. But it's not in the nature of a business to favor craftsmen over builders. Business is focused on minimizing costs to achieve benefits. So AI has become not just a trend, but it's an answer to where the software product development business needs to go to increase its vitality and profitability. And we are already seeing trends in how the role of the web developer changing. Web development practices is changing. And the whole business maybe will change. And it seems that there's no way to turn it back at all. So that's why we are talking about it today. Now I want to focus for a while on how AI is transforming the way we build for the web. The things that LLMs gives us is mostly relies to these four categories. I will focus on it because we've got a limited time. So I think that the main thing is clarifying and detailing our product requirements with our LLMs. We drafting and challenging architecture possibilities with our LLM. Also, we are configuring our AI system to automate building and related tasks. And we actually delegate coding to agents, and also we delegate deployment in some times. Yeah, so I will focus on these points slide by slide, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. So let's do it. Okay, here I won't talk a lot, but this is a part about the decomposition of product requirements, and it's a huge progress with reasoning models bring us to this world. So usually in our daily routines, we need a special, a kind of interpreter from one language of business requirements to a technical requirements. And it used to be a common thing in production, in production of websites, but now reasoning of modern LLMs is changing. It's a game changer. So I just made a simple example that I want to show you. I will try to. So I just put a simple request to my ChatGPT 4o with a common and really unclear requirements to my system, and asked it to detailize it in a way that my development team will understand what to do. And also this simple prompt, which requires a general idea of my app, what will it be, leads me to the whole requirements. Me as a web developer, when I see these requirements, I know what to do next. I've got a clear thing to follow. So I've got my data structures, which I've got to use. I've got a different kind of requirements to my backend, like endpoints and all the functionality descriptions and different limitations that are thought. And also, I've got a required stack. And maybe this is the part that I will think about a little more on how to include my future feature that I will develop in my current infrastructure. And that's a thing that I should actually do as a web developer mostly, than as about how to decompose the initial task. So this is a simple example of the possibilities of modern reasoning models. And I think that it's a real game changer, and we need to use it all the time because it's just make things simpler. So let's continue. Oh, so I'll try to relaunch my presentation. I've got some difficulties with it. Hope it will be okay right now. Okay. The next thing, designing and challenging architecture. Usually we think about our architectures as about a thing that need to be thought personally by a human, but we've got a progress with it. So as example, I show you a Rookcode plugin screenshot. So it has an architect mode on it. So it's a VS Code based plugin where we can talk to our agent about our architect solution. It will ask you proper questions, at least, that will lead you to be more to make more controllable process of building your architecture. You will think about it more clear. So now you are not only a builder with AI, you are could be an architect with AI, which also a changing thing. So we are not talking about coding now. We are talking about general web development process where architect solutions are really important. So also, I mentioned that we need to, oh my God, we need to configure our systems to work properly. Now, we've got so many solutions to write codes, to actually generate code with LLMs. But it's quite biased. Sometimes it's choose wrong choices. So controlling such code is not an easy task. And to reduce these effects, developers create behavior rules that LLM agents must follow. And I think that over time, the code bases of such rules will grow. I will show you an example how it could look like. I found a repository. So this is a repo with cursor rules. Cursor is a IDE designed especially to generate code with no human. And this guy who created this repo, he created a bunch of rules to say AI agents how to behave themselves during the generation of code. So he implementing a modes of creating his future applications. He implementing a special rules about how to log the system state, not to hallucinate in the future, not to rewrite some important things that were written before. Also, some requirements to MDC format. And so it looks like a common thing in natural languages. And I can imagine how our code bases in the future and our repositories in the future will grow with MD and text formats mostly. So that's the thing. That's the thing. And when I switch to my presentation, I need to do something more with it. I don't like it. Oh my God. Sorry for these technical issues. I'll try to fix it now. Oh, I hope it will be okay. I will try not to switch anymore if it will load. No, my God, why not? Do it, please. Um, Sorry for pause and talking. Just can't understand why it's happening. I will open a new tab for it. Yeah, strange thing. Uh, so, also, uh, and for sure, we are delegating coding and deployment. So why coding? We've got a special term to describe the approach. And it's quite a hot topic because LLMs show great results on building complex applications or models. The thing is that the scope of possible delegation of coding to LLMs is a personal choice of developer. As well as practices of keeping code bases health during vibe coding. Anyway, now we live in the world where programmer can be sure that repetitive and usual programming tasks is made with good enough quality by LLM agent. So the amount of code written by LLM agents keeps growing. So it will be more and more such code. And this is the thing. Also, here's some logo of the most popular web coding tools. So it's a Cursor, Windsurf, Klein, Replit, Lovable. They are all a little bit different. Those are VS Code IDE based. You got to choose from them. So, all right, let's move. Okay, let's talk about the role. Let's talk about the role of the web developer. I mentioned some tendencies here, and after that, I will focus on it in details in the next slides. So tendencies are trend to full stack engineering. Second one is disruption of great systems. Third is operating and the creation and evolution of apps. So we are not building it, but mostly operating the creation now. Also, web developers becomes kind of another guy. So it's a refactoring guy. It's mostly an AI tools integrator, and it's a budget keeper. So we are really changing the role in these terms. So let's talk a little more about it. About full stack. So now we can build things that we are not deep experts in, because we can generate. A high-level understanding of programming is enough to build software in most cases. So companies for sure will prefer people who can combine both sides of web development, using AI tools to execute and fill knowledge gaps. Most likely, the web development stack will tend to stabilize. I think that we will use TypeScript for front-end and Python or Node.js for back-end in most cases. It refers to the current volume of code base using to improve LLMs. Also, I think that the role of UI as it will be rethought. More and more parts of our representation layers will be generated on demand. So if user needs HTML representation of our data, it just asks and the LLM builds HTML. Or maybe it will be, and more UI will be integrated into chatbots. So the browsers and its UI libraries like React, Vue.js will be used more as utilities, but not as a basis of the product stacks. So LLM will use them to make the UI. And also, I think that low-code and no-code solutions empowered by AI features will be used more and more on backend, because I see how it's changing and how it's evolving now. So I think that full stack is near future. About the great system and its disruption. So producing code will become more and more simple thing. And junior and middle developers will be more involved in product research and testing product hypotheses. Most likely, junior or middle programming levels are a skill baseline for product managers of the nearest future. But there will be still a place for programmers with deep knowledge of system design and security, because it's all about risk. So to reduce architectural, performance, and security risks, business will still need this kind of web developers. And also, I think that those people are people who will keep the happiness of just coding, not interacting. All right. Let's stop on it. Operation and creation of evolution. Web developers already need skills and understanding and reading code more than writing code. It's not a new thing because we know that code reviewing is much much more usual process than writing code or reading documentations and all this stuff. So, but programming skills are still needed to create better prompts during the creation of application, as well as to control the implementation of best practices of coding into it. So, web developers for sure will develop approaches to control larger batches of generated code bases on each iterations. Most likely it will be a complex of general tools like linters and specific solutions for AI tools like files with contexts and files with rules that I shown before. So that's the thing. We will mostly operate and control on how the app grows with AI tools. And that will be a daily routines. And it is as wonderful as a little bit scary me. But I think it will develop in this way. So, and for sure, web developer will be more a refactoring guy. So more and more product hypotheses will be tested with fully generated code bases. So the work of the professional web developer will be closely related to refactoring and transforming MVPs into scalable and secure solutions. Yes, I think that we will more and more interact with totally generated MVP. And the reason to hire a web developer is to make a working and scalable solution for it. So let's move. Okay, web developer as an AI tools integrator. So we increasingly resemble multi-agent LLM systems. I think data will be proceed through protocols designed specifically for natural languages communication. So for example, now we've got MVC as an example. And I think this trend will grow in all. So we will interact between our apps using special protocols based on natural languages, first of all. I think that the representation layer will increasingly be generated on the fly for user. And the work of the web developer will be less and less about interacting with REST APIs and more about the protocols like MVC or other protocols for LLM systems. So we will mostly integrate different systems between each other to make them way to talk on natural languages via special protocols. And that's a trend. So, and for sure, a web developer is a budget keeper. So it's an easy idea. So we actually build the systems that base on LLM token infrastructure, and also more and more backend will be implemented on serverless solutions with different kind of dynamic payment systems. So web developers will increasingly face to need to estimate and control budget for their applications, and business will wait for it from the web developer of the future. MCP. I see the question. MCP is a modern protocol that is used to communicate between LLM clients and LLM servers. Thank you for the question. I see it. Let's move. I'm near to the end. So key tools and practices to explore right now that I recommend. Mm, uh, I see the questions. I will answer it after this part. So, bunch of records. So, first of all, I think that we need to focus on system design. System design, it's how all ecosystem works together. It's related to the next step. So we need to learn how to name things, to make correct prompts. It's also related to system design. For example, prompts like implement a dirty validation for this form is quite easy for LLMs. But you need to know what is dirty validation pattern. And that's a thing to focus on from my point of view. Also, I think that we need to invest time to learn backend as well as front end. So backend is more close to LLM's world as well as everything happens on the server side there. So also I recommend to explore like coding tools and collect best practices. I will show one thing a little bit further about it, but web coding is the future, and the amount of code we generate is a thing to decide personally, and the best practices that to choose. It's also a personal thing, but we need uh, to explore them, to choose the approach. Uh, so I think that we need to check modern automation solutions like N8N and try to imagine infrastructure built with it. So I think that more and more backend solutions will rely on serverless or low and no coding solutions or automate solutions like N8N. And I see this trend, and please keep it in mind. So also try out the MCP protocol, use different MCP. So I like to do it. For example, uh, I saw the Ableton MCP. MCP is music production software, so you can wipe code music. So just let's try to it, and also it perfectly works with some browser testing tools like browser use, for example, or even okay, just explore it. Learn how to interact with documentation interactively via LLM agents. So more and more documentations will begin to store in some text formats. For example, Stripe, it's a popular payment system, has a special file in the root directory. It's called llm.txt. So it's just a documentations for LLMs to make it interactive. So modern IDEs has special directory to connect our documentation to our code base and make our future coding based on this documentation. So I think that's a kind of way of interacting with documentations in future, because we've got the chat modes, we've got agent modes in these web coding tools, and so on. Explore techniques on how to log and keep track of your project state with LLMs, especially your project specificity, because LLMs will always hallucinate and rewrite your code. So we've got to invent practices to keep our state, to log changing of our apps in each iteration, and we need to find out the practices to do it. There are some already, and we need just to think about it. So that's a thing to focus. Also, I think that the big thing is security and performance. All LLM world is quite young, and we will make a lot of mistakes on. mistakes like unsecured MCPs, for example, and uh, not really good from performance side, generated applications and all the stuff. And web developers will be people who will deal with it, who will be hired to solve those issues. And as a final point, I always ask people to dream, because if you dream, you can do great things. And I would like you to dream about what kind of UX could possibly AI era bring to users. I mentioned some of my dreams where, for example, UI will be generated on demand, but you can imagine and dream more and more, and it's awesome things. So, in the end of my presentation, I will talk a little bit about how we can help you on this path of diving into AI web development and so on. So first of all, I would recommend you to explore an Enlighten extension. So it's an extension for Cursor. Cursor is a IDE made specially for web coding, and Enlighten is an educational extension which will show you the best practices of web coding. So it's totally free of charge. You've got to pay only for Cursor subscription, but it's awesome. So I will open the link now and I will show you how it works, maybe. Yeah. So this is a web version, but the thing will be an extension. And there are some small courses about different parts of building apps with Cursor and about vibe coding. So, and this is very nice. I would recommend you to explore it. Also, we've got a bootcamp, which I am offering to you. So we've got a whole program, long program, 10-month program, which we developed in Hyperskill. And we are focusing on how to develop, how to make, and how to teach full stack of new era, who will combine different stacks. We will compare Python backend with Node.js backend. We will show how to write React and Vue.js and what is the differences. And it's also a program which brings you an experience of using AI tools from the first days of learning how to be a full stack web developer. That's our big challenge and big ambition, and we believe we are doing good. So you've got a discount with this promo code. You can scan QR code or go follow this link. We also has got a bot which you can interact with about the details of this program. And also we've got awesome mentors who will support you during all this process. And if you are thinking about diving into full stack developer, it's a totally beginner friendly program, but also people who already have some experience, they will find out something good for them in implementing AI tools during their web development practices. So feel free to use it. And now we are going to Q&A section. I've got one question already. Will it not be expensive if the web pages run on token-based infrastructure? That's a good question, because we don't know what is expensiveness. So we understand that token costs will decrease. So LLMs will become cheaper and cheaper. But for sure, we will build more and more heavy uh, heavy solutions, so they produce more and more traffics, and it depends. That's why the future role of web developer will be a little bit more about budget keeping. So we've got to count. That's my answer. What the percent of hyperskill code, both back and front end, have been generated with an aid of LLM models? I'm not sure about the correct persons, but I know that it's a daily routine of our web developers because I'm talking to them to use LLM tools to generate code or to discuss the solutions. So that's the way how we work. We are really AI believers, and that's our daily routines. So we implement it in all stages. And so our work in Slack is full of recommendations of new AI tools all the time. So that's what I can answer on it. So now I think we are near to the end. I will show you the last slide, and also you can ask a couple of more questions. Oh yeah, you've got it. I asked because the GPT-4o model are way more expensive than earlier. So I'm assuming the upcoming versions will be much more expensive. Hence, the cost of using LLMs anywhere will eventually increase. But I'm thinking too little or too specific. New models will be expensive, but the existing models will be decreased in price. So the tasks that you can produce with the current state of models will be decreased in price totally. So for sure, when someone releases a new technology, he can get more money on hype and all this stuff. But the trend of any LLM solutions is tending to decrease the cost with time because it's how it works. Thank you for the thoughts. Yeah, I think that it's really important thing to keep in mind how much does it all cost, because LLMs should be accessible for people everywhere, because it's like good for everyone. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was happy to talk to you. Hope you had nice evenings, mornings, days. Maybe see you on next webinars.